Entrepreneurship is hard, so let's fix that and dive into our heroes' journeys. This is Taking Flight, an entrepreneur's journey, and I'm Sarah Tourville. Join me as we delve deep into the passions, expertise, and experiences of those already in flight. This show is sponsored by EO Atlanta. Hello to our viewers and to our watchers, people who are actually watching us, hopefully on some of the many platforms that we're on. It's wonderful to be here today. As you know, we've been really kind of listening to another really, really interesting entrepreneur joining us today. The person we're going to be speaking to loves to create beautiful and functional living environments. She's a very thoughtful entrepreneur and a very strong businesswoman. President at Catherine Wilson Interiors, I'd love to introduce Catherine Wilson.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You are extremely welcome. I've been looking forward to this day since we had our first initial conversation. So it's going to be good.
I agree.
Okay. So I'd love to kind of really start off strong, Catherine, and ask you, on your entrepreneurial journey, what did you get right when you first took your flight?
I would have to say that I really adopted that adage. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I truly, absolutely love the process of making houses into homes. And that process comes from tapping into the psychology of my clients and truly getting to know who they are. I'm not a cookie cutter designer. I am a designer that tries to get into your head if you're my client or your family's head, collective head. And it helps when the client knows who they are so that I can really glean who they are and then translate it into their home. I will say that that passion, that do what you love every day has kind of morphed and grown over the years. In the beginning, I would have said, don't give me a spreadsheet. I don't want to look at a P&L.
Right.
I was the creative. I was not the business mind. And through the years, I have developed more of a passion for the business side of the business. And because it is a business and not a hobby anymore. And I will say that EO has helped me make that successful transition. All the wonderful people and the experiences through EO has lifted me as a creative into a truly a business person now.
That's wonderful to hear. And yeah, you're right. People, they say that doing what you love, you'll never feel like you're going to work. What about me, ask you though, what about when things get tough? Just out of interest, how do you handle that? Because I mean, does the passion just drive you through, you think?
Yes, generally, and just following through with my clients, just seeing that vision all the way through. And I think the business portion, the accountability portion of getting it all the way through and making sure my clients are satisfied.
Yeah.
That plus the passion of making beautiful spaces. Yes.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I just want to dig deeper just into something you said, because I find, because I'm in the creative work too, different type of creative, but we have to try and understand our clients too. So how do you understand your clients?
Well, first and foremost, I went to UNC Chapel Hill and I went to my advisor and they said, "Oh, if you take 2 more classes in psychology, you have a double major." And I thought, "Oh, okay." Had no idea how instrumental that would be in my future career, my job. Um, but I would have to say just on a fundamental level, listening. Really listening and reading in between the lines, because sometimes when people say, "I don't like that," or "I don't want that," or "I can't afford that," it usually means something deeper. And the ability to ask and probe and figure out really what are they trying to say? What are they trying to communicate? And it's my job to help translate that.
Right. Okay. That's great. So a psychology degree makes a lot of sense. So that's great. So who are or were your co-pilots on this journey?
I feel like I have two co-pilots right now. My first co-pilot, without a shadow of a doubt, is my husband. We've been married almost 28 years, got married on April Fool's Day.
Wow.
Um, anyway, he was definitely a supporter. When we got married, I worked for Bristol Myers Squibb in pharmaceutical sales, and we called that package the golden handcuffs because I had a great salary, lots of perks, company car, stock options,
Right.
bonuses, trips, travel,
Yeah.
less healthcare, you name it. And so the thought of becoming an entrepreneur was, very daunting.
Yeah.
And I look back on it, I'm absolutely, utterly amazed that he supported me in this journey, but he did. And he became my biggest cheerleader. He not only was, supported me financially in the very beginning, but he would listen to all my babbling, late at night, pillow talk, processing things. What should I do here with this client? What should I do here with this employee? And he also was bank of bill. I was very conservative in how I ran my business. And every now and then I would skate really close to the edge and didn't want to, go into my line of credit.
Yeah.
And he was bank of bill for me. So he's been there for me on a ton of levels.
Right.
My second in command, Margaret, she has filled in the gaps where I am not the greatest,
Yeah.
which is, organizational skills, um, just the core business practices, the finances. She started with me, flex time, accounting, bookkeeping, and she has moved full time and really runs the operation. So she is definitely my sidekick.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And you need to have somebody actually, you need both those people in your life for sure. I believe you do from my experience. So that's
Mhm.
incredible. Okay. So what is a challenge you and your team had to solve recently?
Um, human resources, human resources, human resources. Can't say that enough.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a small business or you're a Fortune 500 company. I think that is one of the bigger challenges facing managers and entrepreneurs right now. And recently, my HR consultant said to me, "Nice work, young Skywalker." And I thought I had literally arrived because we have been on a journey to find the right fit of employees with our culture, as well as in our industry. It's a little bit different and probably similar with you. You need a to be creatives to be in your business, but you also need them to have the business sense.
And that's hard.
It's really hard. It's not an easy combination. So I think we have learned and grown on the inside of knowing what to look for, knowing what to ask for, knowing what to vet for.
Yeah.
And we have an excellent team now that the nexus of it is all around our core values, and we are not compromising that. And as a result, we have a good team. Knock
Good.
on wood.
Good.
It's always evolving, always growing,
Oh yeah, of
always
course.
changing. That's
Nothing
just the
ever
name of the
stays
game.
the same. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But you're right. It's very difficult to find the creative with the business sense. So you took some time to do that, did you?
I did. I did. And I have to say, over the last 6 months or so, it, made my life harder. I could have, they have that old adage that you hire really slow and fire really fast.
Yeah.
And we took the hiring process really slowly. And I feel really good about,
Good.
a lot of the decisions that we've
Yeah.
made. So,
Good. Yeah, and that firing really fast, sometimes that's so hard to do when
oh,
you need them, like, they're on the client account. It's like, but then again, you know that they're gonna be potentially damaging, but it's difficult to do that, isn't it?
it is definitely
Yeah,
very difficult, and there's the human component of it. It doesn't mean that they're good people, they're nice people, but
yeah,
they may not be a fit, and they may not be right for my business, your business, and at the end of the day, we have to make decisions that are right for our business.
yeah,
While that may sound selfish. It's not. We are
Yeah.
out there, we're set up and designed to serve our client.
Mhm.
And I am set up and designed to serve the business, which then serves the employees that are working with
Yeah.
me and for me and doing a great job.
Yeah.
It becomes a spiral that you can't really quantify
Yeah.
until you stand back later and look back
Look back
at
at
the
it.
situation.
I
Mhm.
agree. Can I just ask you, how have you gone about hiring like this creative? What do you use a recruitment firm? Do you do it yourself?
A little bit of doing it ourselves. I am really adopting the adage of kind of keeping a deep bench before you need to hire,
Yeah.
and having some names in the background, some contacts in the background, so that when you are ready to hire, it is more of a personal touch.
Yeah.
May or may not work out, but and then I haven't gone through recruitment firms. I've used mainly I've found folks through LinkedIn and through word of mouth,
Yeah.
and then used my HR consultant as well as used the tools that Gorilla Hire had provides, which is aptitude and skills test and matches that how that person or that candidate fits in with our current team members.
Okay. That's cool. Gorilla Hire, do you say?
Yes.
Okay. Just writing that down. It's always
Yep.
nice to get these
Yeah.
nuggets of advice.
Mhm.
So that's wonderful. Okay. So I suppose was there a book that you kind of want to recommend that maybe helped you with that particular challenge, or something right now you're reading which is just you're finding extremely beneficial?
I have a string of business books, but none of them, as far as the book,
Yeah.
really profoundly affected me. They were all very helpful, and I
Yeah.
pulled pearls of wisdom,
Same.
but
Yeah.
I kept coming back to one book that I've read several times over the years, and I've also, seen the play umpteen times, is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And
Sure.
the reason why it kept coming to mind is that it is a book largely about human resiliency, or the resiliency of the human spirit.
Yeah.
And while we as entrepreneurs are not exactly fighting for our lives or fighting for our freedom, we are, we should be models of resiliency. Everything always changes. You have new challenges every day, every week, every year.
Yeah.
And resiliency, pivoting, changing, and adapting are really the name of the game. And so there's a metaphor there in Les Mis.
Mhm.
The other metaphor is with the concept of law versus grace.
Right.
In business, when you're in some of your business meetings or EO meetings, you share best practices and the law, if you will. Here's the best way to do something, and for the most part, those are true.
Yeah.
But I feel that a good entrepreneur needs to know when to balance that legalism, law, best practices with grace
Yeah.
and with the human element, the what's really the best thing to do here. It may not be the best financial or business decision, but overall, is it the best decision for my company, for my
Yeah.
client, for my employees? And so, weighing that, the balance of grace versus law, which is prevalent as a metaphor
Yeah.
in Les Mis.
I
And
love
then
that. Okay.
the final imagery, which has to do with me as a creative, is Paris. It's the book is set in Paris,
Yeah.
and the imagery of the beauty of that city is incredibly profound, even in wartime.
Mhm.
But I love Paris. My daughter's in school there, and it is such an inspirational place from an architectural, cultural beauty perspective. So those like
They all
three,
mix together. Yeah.
all those mixed together is the book that I would recommend, but not necessarily a business book per
No,
se.
and I love the fact that you've used a non-business book to, like you say, to show some the values from it and how you then apply that to what you do. Yeah, I don't hear that term enough, grace, being used in business. I mean, I don't, not to say people aren't using grace, you just don't hear it being discussed. So it's lovely that you pulled that to the surface, because I do agree that there may be the sometimes the right way based on what business practice should look like, but you've got to take into the fact that we're all humans and
Mhm.
we need to treat people with grace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
Thank
good. Okay. I love it. What excites you about the future? Like what does your future of flight look like?
The future of flight, what it looks like. Um, I am in the phase right now of I'm growing and expanding, and I'm in that creative industry where, for the most part, when people hire someone from CCW Interiors, it is me and my creativity. So I'm in that expansion phase that's a little more difficult than other companies that are
Right.
much more scalable, if you
Yeah.
will. But I'm on that quest.
Right.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
We need to keep an eye out. Love to
Yeah.
see that. Okay, good. Alrighty. So I just would love to kind of learn a little bit more about you, Catherine. Like, in terms of before you took your entrepreneur's flight, I mean, you mentioned already you had a very good job, and that
Mhm.
must have been extremely difficult to cut off. But what was there other things which happened before which kind of shaped you to, do you think, to take that move to become an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. I did not grow up with a lot of wealth. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, and we didn't have the finest of things, but what we did have, my parents, used their money wisely, and I had a nice home. And my mother was a business owner. She owned a dress shop in the little town and was very well known and well connected. She definitely had a flair. And so I watched and I absorbed and I expanded upon it.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, probably one of my most pivotal moments was when I was in high school and I went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and competed in the Junior Miss of North Carolina. I stayed in a home of one of the family members of one of the textile manufacturing companies, one of the largest ones in the world. And when I walked into their home, it was as if I was Cinderella, that someone had just slipped on that glass slipper on my foot. My world opened up.
Right.
And I knew at that moment two things. Number one, I knew that I would have a home that spoke to me the way this house was
Right.
speaking to me. And number two, it planted the seed that I wanted to do this as a profession. And when I walked into that home and it was gorgeous, it wasn't that I wanted to replicate that home.
Yeah.
I wanted to replicate that feeling.
Right.
Because what I feel that I am charged to do as a designer is to create an environment that you, as the client, retreats to in the evening and you are filled up so that in the morning, when you go back out into the world, you are absolutely the best that you can be because your home is your haven.
Yeah.
So
Love that. That's so true. No, it is.
12, ab- yeah, about 12 years later, and 3 houses that I had what I call blown up, put back together and
Right.
flipped, I launched CCW Interiors, but there was another pivotal moment when my neighbor reached out to me and said, "I know you're gonna think this is really weird, but can I hire you to design my home?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, that's not so weird." And it was literally thinking about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the segue, but that was the nudge that I needed to leave my golden handcuffs
Right.
and start my
Yeah.
business.
Yes, and you did it. My gosh. Now I've never, again, you're saying some things I just haven't heard before. And I do agree with you. I take a lot of pride in my home. I've had an interior designer come in who's a friend, and I fit, but I haven't ever heard that when you say, and it's so true. It fills you up at night with all the lovely things you have around you. And I don't mean just things, I mean things which make you happy.
Mhm.
And then so the next morning, you're able to go back out and be a warrior again, kind of, to some extent, because
Yeah,
that's what being an entrepreneur is about.
it
So
really is.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. I love that very much. So
Yeah.
what problem do you solve right now, Catherine? And what impact do you think you have made?
Um, well, I mean, I hope that I believe. I mean, I have a lot of repeat business, so I do believe I'm making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah,
You can make an argument that what I do is kind of trite and trivial. There are people in the world that don't have homes or that
yeah,
are home insecure. But I really do believe that creating that nest, that home, that environment that makes you feel secure and makes you the best person that you can be is critical.
yeah.
So I do believe I contribute that.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think you do. I know it makes a difference. My introspection question, I love this question. So if you were to do this all again, would you do it all over again? You know I love this question.
Um, I absolutely would do it all over
Yeah,
again. I At times I think, wow, what if I had started this right out of college? Where
yeah,
would I be today? I'm not sure I would have had the gravitas or the confidence or the inspiration. I'm not really sure if, honestly, I probably would say, nope, I just do it exactly the way that I did it.
yeah,
The only thing that I know for a fact that I would have changed is that I would have joined EO as an accelerator. I joined EO straight up.
yeah,
And I feel like I, went from, business 101 all the way to 104. And then I had to go back and, pick
yeah,
up springs of knowledge along the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I did it. I made it. I'm
yeah,
fine. But if I could have been a little bit more methodical about the business component of all the business components about what I'm doing, again, it would
yeah,
be telling where I would be today.
yeah. And I don't mean to keep making the same, like the analogy that my situation is similar, but it's so true. I think when you have a passion for something, you forget that you can A, charge for it,
Mhm.
and B, you can turn it into a business. And I did the same. I spent many years just like really enjoying what I did, not thinking about scale, because you feel privileged to do what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was the same. And then suddenly you realize, whoa, you mean one day maybe I can sell this company? Things
Mhm.
like that just trigger the mind to think, oh, I hadn't ever considered that. And you're right, EO provides that pathway for sure.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
And when, you can probably identify with this when something that comes so innately easy to you,
Yeah.
you forget that other
Yeah.
people don't have that ability or gift. And
Yeah.
so why not teach that, impart that, and
Yeah.
allow that to grow and i.e. sell?
Yeah. I agree with you. So a little bonus round. What do you do outside of work when you're not designing beautiful, homes and making beautiful living experiences? What does it look like?
I do a lot of traveling. I don't do the best job at turning my brain off even when I'm at home.
Right.
When we're entertaining, when we have, meals together, I do put my phone aside and turn my brain off and I am present, but I'm kind of available mentally,
Yeah.
thinking, processing ideas, what can I do next? So very much the business is part of me, good, bad, or indifferent. Love to travel, both, in the United States, internationally, love to spend time with my friends. And
Yeah.
probably the thing that gives me most joy is spending time with my adult children.
Yeah.
Raising children was a wonderful journey. Sometimes it wasn't so wonderful, but they've reached the other side now and they're,
That's good.
and contributing. And I love those little human beings.
Yeah. That's good. As I sit here with my 20-year-old daughter on the floor with her dog, she's about to go back to university. So yeah, we're still in the
You
in the
get it.
midst of, yeah, I get it.
You get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They are fun to spend time with for sure.
They are.
Yeah.
I also have something that takes up a lot of emotional energy. My mother has Alzheimer's, and my brother-in-law, my husband's youngest brother or younger brother, has FTD, which is frontal temporal dementia, which Bruce Willis, Demi Moore just announced that
Yeah.
that's what he has.
Right.
So those are two very wicked, cruel diseases that take over. So, in the midst of trying to
Yeah.
enjoy family, I'm
Yeah.
dealing with that.
Yeah, that must be very difficult to deal with as well. So, well, thank you for sharing like the things, you love to do. And I know your daughter's in Paris and that must be wonderful. I lived in the city for 6 months. I didn't have quite the best experience, if I'm honest, but,
It's a
I
tough
hit it.
city.
It's a
There's
tough
a tough
city.
city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is. So I got my car broken into. I got it bashed into several times. By the time I took my car home, my father did not recognize it.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Okay, well,
yes.
she doesn't have a car, but
Yeah, that's good. This was like 30 years ago, and I drove from England to Paris, and I taught, not taught. I was working in a translation agency near Gare du Nord, which is a little bit of a
Mhm.
slightly rougher area as
Yeah,
well. So, but it is, and going back now as an adult, I see the beautiful side of it too.
right.
So,
I'm not sure I could live there. I'm
yeah,
so proud of my daughter, but I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm with you. I get it.
yeah,
I go on vacation there.
yeah.
Very
It's
different.
different, very different, very
Yeah.
different. So, Catherine, where can people connect with you?
You can reach us through Instagram at Catherine Wilson Interiors, or look at our website and connect there. And that is ccwinteriors.com.
That's fabulous. Well, I really, really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for being on the EO Atlanta Taking Flight podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience. If you learned something today, or you laughed, or you got inspired, please tell someone about this podcast. Again, thank you, Catherine. And I'm looking forward to the next episode of EO Atlanta's Taking Flight. And so that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at takingflight.live. For more information about EO Atlanta, visit eoatlanta.org. Special thanks to the following sponsors: